We do have, for the start of today's show, we have a wonderful guest. We've been having a lot of different head coaches from local high schools on. There's been a lot of success in the Valley, a lot of teams winning state titles, and we like to try and bring those coaches on. And the latest in that great line of success, and this isn't his first rodeo in terms of winning state championships, Bear River softball head coach Calvin Bingham. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, so you guys win the state title. I believe that was your 11th state title in softball, at least as head coach of Bear River.
Kind of unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an amazing record.
I think it was like 24 years as a head coach, or
24.
So you almost average a championship every other year.
Yeah, we actually only had state tournament 23 years because of COVID. So 2020 we didn't have a state tournament, didn't have a season. Actually, we played one game that year. I had a granddaughter who played for Snow Canyon, and before we went to the St. George tournament the night before, we played Snow Canyon. And I'm not sure. It seems to me the score was 5-4 for Snow Canyon, and my son reminds me that I had one losing season. So
one losing season. I say you guys probably would have bounced back from that, won the championship. So we'll just make that 12 championships, and we'll go with that. But I guess that's probably too many championships for us to go down memory lane for each one. So let's maybe focus, at least to start with, on kind of this most recent one. What was it like for this team? I know with 11 titles, maybe they all kind of meld together as far as how unique they are. But just tell us a little bit about this year's team and, their path to winning a state title.
Well, of course, last year we lost to Ridgeline. We beat them both times in region play, and I kind of had an impression that we weren't ready for state. It just seemed like we weren't focused like we needed to be, and Ridgeline played really well and beat us, and it was disappointing where we had beat them both times in region. We lost a lot of seniors, so we were really young this year. We started 5 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 2 seniors, and it took us a while to get organized, find out where we wanted to put people. The first time we played Ridgeline, we lost 10-9. Made a couple of really bad errors that cost us dearly, and I felt like that we should have won. The second time we played Ridgeline, they just plain beat us. It was close. They beat us 5-2, but there was no question that they were the better team that day. When we got beat the first game 3-2 in state, I still was fairly confident of what we could accomplish because it was close. It was kind of the winning run was a line drive that ricocheted off our third baseman's mitt and went to the deepest part of the field, and of course she got a home run on it, and so I felt pretty good. Plus the fact that the first year we won state back in 2001, we had to come through the losers bracket. We played Twilla, and my best recollection, I think we beat them 1-0 in the first game. In the second game, we beat them 7-1. 2 years ago, when we played Twilla, we lost the first game 5-0. Beat them the next day 4-2, and then the last game we beat them 14-6. So I felt like that if we could get that first game on Saturday, I felt like we would win because we'd kind of be on a roll, and that's really what happened.
Coach, you had just certainly a long, illustrious coaching career, but looking over the last few years, really crazy times for a coach, and especially for student athletes. You had, as you mentioned earlier, you had the COVID year that wiped out your season, which I always feel awful for any spring sport athletes and how that affected them. But we had, I don't want to call it a repeat, but we had another situation this year where I've heard other coaches refer to it as snowvid, where it was just really hard to get on a field to play any games because we had record snow this year, and it just kept coming and was relentless. How did that affect your team in kind of getting going into a rhythm of what you wanted coming into the season, and how hard was it to find a field to get on?
Well, we played, went down to St. George and played, had a good experience there. Then we played Weber, and Weber spent a lot of time trying to get their field ready. And the day we played them, it was so cold that we were miserable. And when I got my pickup, after we came home from Weber High School, when I got my pickup to drive home, it said 32 degrees. And there was a brisk breeze down there that made it even worse than that. And then nothing. Last year we had the same problem because they were doing some work on our field, putting in a new scoreboard, putting in some turf around the dugouts, and just a lot of work that they were doing. And so we didn't get on our field till about somewhere around the 8th of April. This year was a lot the same way. And I think when they had finally released the tournament schedule, we had practiced on our field one day.
Wow.
The rest of the time we had games, makeup games, and so I hate that kind of a situation because I feel like that you need to have a couple of days of practice to work on things that maybe you were having struggles with. And so, yeah, this was the last 2 years for us at Bear River has been a real challenge.
So, one thing I didn't kind of mention in the beginning is this is going to be your last year. You mentioned, 24 years, 11 championships. This is your last year. You've decided to retire from at least coaching softball. And I guess kind of one of the questions I had is what kind of made you decide to do that? Or when was the moment you finally decided this is going to be it?
Well, I've coached at Bear River for about 41 years. I coached wrestling. I enjoyed wrestling, but at the time I was assistant principal, and we had one particular family that was attending our school. They had a son that was, to be honest, a crook. And one day we had a problem with him, and my principal was away at district meetings, and he didn't get back before I left to go to wrestling practice. And when he came back, this father was in raising Cain over the situation with his son. And the next day when I came to work, the principal said, "Calvin, it's got to be either coaching or administration." And at the time I had, 6 boys. I'm LDS. I was hoping they'd go on missions. I told them I was their boss until they got their master's degree, so we had so I just quit coaching and focused on administration. And then in 2000, when the job came open, I had a new principal, and lucky for me, Carl Starr was his name, a wonderful administrator and a good friend. He came to me and said, "If you want to apply for this job, softball, I'll support you 100%. Go for it." And so I did. But the reason I finally decided that maybe I want to quit is I'm tired of bus rides. It just seemed like the job was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I retired from Box Elder School District 13 years ago, but kept coaching, and I just thought it was time. I'd like to spend a little more time with my wife and my grandkids, and so that was a decision. Plus the fact I had one assistant. I've had the real blessing of working with Stan Haramoto, who died from COVID, and Troy Haramoto, who used to play a lot of softball, and they've been my assistants and just great people who understood the game. And I think they were, at least Troy was getting tired, and he was getting up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work so he could come back and coach. And so I think we just both felt like maybe it was time.
Well, what is it? Over 504 victories, 11 state titles. I think you've earned that right to call your own shot there. But that is an amazing career, and I know that there have been a number of athletes that have come through your program and gone on to play collegiately and have great careers. What's that been like for you? Just the satisfaction of seeing somebody come into your program, a raw prospect, and then by the time that you're done with them, you're sending them off to a higher level to continue to compete.
Well, it's satisfying, but I'm not sure that anymore they come in raw. We've had a lot of wonderful coaches that have worked with them in 10U, 12U, 14U, and I love fast pitch softball. I was introduced to it when I was just a young boy, back when the LDS Church had a program, and they used to have fast pitch for the young men, and I grew up in just through the field from Crystal Springs, and we had a pasture in front of our house. We used to play ball there, and it so happened that our ward was going to play for a state championship, play against Brigham 7th, I think it was. And they invited me to come. It wasn't because I was going to get to play, really. It was in case they had problems and needed an extra guy, because I played a lot in the pasture, and so I could at least catch the ball. But we had a young man from, actually, I don't know where he was from. He came to live with his grandfather who had honeybees, and he was the pitcher, and he was really good. And I thought, what happens next year if he doesn't come to work with his grandfather? We won't have a pitcher, so I better learn how to pitch. And so I did, and I just learned to love the game. And I think that it's once somebody really gets involved in the game, they just learn to really love it. And we've had some great players go on and play in college, and I hope some of them come back and raise their kids in the Valley so that they can play, and maybe even some of them be involved in coaching.
We're talking to Bear River softball, I guess technically soon to be former Bear River softball head coach Calvin Bingham. He's retiring after a very long and successful career, and I guess when you decided to call it quits, because I believe you made the decision before the end of the season, right?
Yeah, I actually went in and told the principal about 2 weeks before. I said, just keep it quiet. I don't want it to affect the girls or anything. But at the end of the year, I think I'm going to hang it up. And so.
Yeah, so I guess, is there really any better way to finish out your career than with a state title? Because, for a lot of coaches at every level, sometimes their career just kind of ends with a bit of a whimper. They have a couple of mediocre seasons at the end, but you're walking out on top.
Well,
if you get to leave with a win as their last game.
Yeah.
It was really satisfying. I felt like Ridgeline had a tremendous season, and we had a great season. We never lost to a 5A or 6A team. We beat both the 5A and 6A state champions. We beat 5 or 6 of the top 8 seeds in 5A and 2 of the top seeds in 6A. So we had a great year.
So what you're saying is you are the best softball team in the state of Utah.
No, I I've always felt that Spanish Fork was as tough as anybody, but Ridgeline was really good this year. And I think the reason we were successful in state is their top 3 batters were really tough. And in state, we were able to keep them off the base paths for the most part. But they were talented, and if they got on base, you might as well just stop the game and put them on third because they were so fast and talented. And, you know, if they end up on third, it's pretty hard to keep them from scoring. But we kept them off for the most part, and that really helped us. And then our top of our order hit really well. We had some that hit 600, and then the bottom half of our order came through with clutch hits, and that's what helped us. But a great way to end, at least for me. It was very satisfying.
You've kind of talked about your journey just playing the game from when you were a kid, learning how to, playing in the fields and the pastures, learning how to pitch, and then getting involved in coaching. But as you've been a coach, a head coach at Bear River these past 24 years, how have you seen the game change or evolve over that time? Or has it? Is it kept pretty much the same?
It has really changed. I remember when we first started, girls pitching, a lot of times the coaches were begging for strikes. I umped a little bit before I started coaching, and girls really struggled with pitching strikes. They didn't hit as well. They didn't throw like, I tell them, don't throw like a girl, throw like an athlete. And but now, boy, they can hit, they throw, and back then, a lot of times girls pitching didn't rotate their hips and really whip it. But now the good pitchers, they do all of that like they're supposed to. So it's really improved.
Is that more just the development of the game, kids starting sooner, or just more understanding of how to be more effective in the game?
I think that, and I also think it's coaching. I think that these kids are seeing coaches earlier and more often, and so I think it's both.
So kind of final question for me, I guess, just I always like to ask, people who've had long careers, like what memories really stick out? You've obviously gone over several of those memories already, but just memories of past seasons, championships, what kind of sticks out to you that you're going to keep looking back on over and over, that, things you remember about your time?
Well, the last, 5 or 6 state championships have been really tough, hard-fought games. 2012, we played Spanish Fork. The High School Activities Association told me that they had never had so many calls from people wanting to know when teams were going to play. They wanted to know when Spanish Fork and Bear River were going to play. That was the year it rained a lot, and so we played Spanish Fork, I think, on a Friday, beat them, I think it was like 9-8 in 9 innings. Saturday they postponed it. We went to Salt Lake Community College, played the championship there. First game, Spanish just shelled us 16-0 in 3 innings. And I thought, holy cow, this is going to be hard to come back from. We turned around the next game, and our first 7 batters got on. 8th batter got out but knocked in a run. 9th batter got out, knocked in a run. We ended up beating them 8-0. 2016, we played Juab. Juab had a really good team, and we beat them twice, 2-1. They had their pitcher went on and played at BYU. She was one of the leaders in home runs, and if she came up to bat with somebody on, we walked her. If there was nobody on, we pitched to her. But afterwards, her grandmother came up and chewed on me about walking her intentionally. But Juab was really good that year. 2018, we played Spanish again for state championship. I think that year Spanish was ranked as high as either 13th or 17th in the nation. They had a lot of girls that were D1 prospects, and we beat them 5-4. Just a great game. 21, Twilla was favored. They were ranked number 1 in the state the whole year. So the last, from 12 on, they have really been memorable. They've been hard fought against really good teams, and it's been really satisfying to have the outcome that we had.
So what's next for you?
Well, I got a granddaughter that played for Snow Canyon. She's coming off her mission in about 10 days, and she's had a few offers to play college ball. Really good athlete. She, in fact, we eliminated in 2021. We eliminated them in the semifinals. She had been running track and playing softball, and as soon as we eliminated them, she went over and ran track and had 2 firsts, a second, and a third in state, and got 14 points and beat Desert Hills by 1 point. My niece actually coaches at Desert Hills, and she cussed me for eliminating them from the. But she's a good athlete, and she kind of indicated that she wants to play college ball. I got a grandson down Pleasant Grove that wrestles that I think has the potential to be really good. I want to go watch him, and I got lots of grandkids that go to BYU, and I love to go the ball games and take my grandkids and spend time with them. So that's kind of what we plan on. I don't know what else we'll do, but
Chasing grandkids is going to keep you pretty busy from from what I understand.
The grind won't stop, but you won't be doing it in a bus ride anymore.
That's right. You can control the air conditioning and the music a little better.
Be a lot easier. But
sorry, just one last question for me too is just you've announced that you're moving on and you're moving into another chapter for your life. But what's the next chapter for Bear River softball? What's that process like of selecting a new coach? Do you know?
Well, I talked to the principal this morning, and I think they'll have several applicants. In fact, one of the applicants in fact, 2 of them were girls that have played for me. One of them played college for 4 years, and the other one didn't play college, but she was really good. So I'm sure that they're going to be able to find a really good coach. So I'm sure that there's some other people there that'll be applying. They just opened it up just recently, so I think there'll be some really good people there, and I think they'll keep going.
With the track record of success that you built, I'm sure it's got to be a pretty high level interest in being able to take on that legacy that you already built.
Well, it'll be kind of fun to go watch the games and not have to worry about all the details that go with it. So
you'll sit in the stands where you find yourself yelling out advice.
I'm going to sit in the old folks section and
try your best to stay quiet, but maybe you can't always control that. The instincts may be too great. But.
Well, I had an experience when I was in college where I kind of mouthed off and got kicked out of a game. And after the game, I said to my wife, "Let's go." And she said, "You go ahead and go. I'm not walking with you. You embarrass me." And I thought, that's got to change. And so I don't say much to the umps. Once in a while I'll tell them it's a little high or a little low, but for the most part I don't say much. And
see, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I did refereeing. I did basketball and soccer. Those are sports that I play. as a referee, I was like, oh, people should treat the referees nice. But then I go play those sports, and I'm like yelling at the referees. He'd be like, so I'm a horrible hypocrite when it comes to that.
Well, I did the next week went and apologized to the people that I had been yelling at. I was embarrassed, and my wife kind of put me in my place. So,
well, Coach, thanks for coming over and spending some time with us. Congratulations, not only on your 11th state title this spring, but a really long and successful career representing Bear River, the Bear River area, and just great success and how you've helped a lot of young people achieve great things, and you've been a big part of that. So appreciate the level of success that you've had and taking some time out of your day to come over and spend some time with us too.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the show here on 106.9 The Fan.